Okay, we will call the meeting to order. Jen, would you take roll, please?
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Corbin? Commissioner Thill?
Here.
Commissioner Waldner?
Here.
And Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Appearances, acknowledgements. Acknowledge a letter from the South Dakota Department of Legislative Audit, 2017 audit report. Jen, do you want to address this?
I will, please. Included as part of your packet is the letter from Marty Gagnon at the state DLA reviewing and accepting our audit report for year-end 2017. You all have been given a copy of that annual report at your desk. Can we go through just a few things quickly? I know 17 is...
Take your time. Take your time. I know this is sacred territory.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of hours in here, so we shouldn't go through too quickly, should we? Turn with me, if you would, please, to page 6. Most important page of the whole book. At the bottom, it says the current federal audit findings. There are no written federal compliance and audit findings to report. Below that are current other audit findings. There are no written current other compliance audit findings to report. We actually only had one adjusting entry. Once upon a time we had pages of audit adjusting entries. This year we had one adjusting entry that was for some petty cash. Actually that was set up in the department unbeknownst to some of us. Okay, so there was just an adjusting entry to get that recorded correctly in the books. Page 12, please, is your balance sheet for your governmental funds. First line there under your asset page, your cash and cash equivalents. Total cash and cash equivalents at the end of 2017 was $9.5 million. Page 13, your assets, of course, will always equal your total liabilities, deferred inflows, and resources and fund balances. So at the bottom of page 13, you will see the corresponding $10.9 million total assets to total liabilities and fund balances. Again, those are governmental funds as opposed to your proprietary funds. Page 15. Statement of revenues, expenditures, changes in fund balances, again for your governmental funds. Page 1 here is strictly your revenues, total revenues. Page 16, total expenditures. Page 17, you will see your other financing sources, which are your transfers in and your transfers out. Those will always balance along with your sale of municipal property, which will give you your final line there for your fund balance, ending fund balance. These numbers have all been tied out to our internal departmental reports that everyone gets, have been tied out to all of our system reports. And other than that one adjusting entry that I mentioned, this should mirror our annual report also. Page 19, please, is your statement of net position, which is again basically your balance sheet for your proprietary funds. So those are your enterprise funds. Once again, your top row are your current assets, your cash and cash equivalents. In your proprietary funds, you have the fund deferred outflows and your deferred inflows, and that is subject to a lot of the GASB requirements that we are required to follow. You have inflows and outflows, which are non-cash entries that are done at the end of every year. Page 20, total liability. And as mentioned, inflows, total deferred inflows for, once again, your total net position. Total net position for your proprietary funds was $29.3 million. Page 21 is a report that we're more used to seeing. Again, it is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund net position for your proprietary funds. Here's your breakdown about the first section there are your operating revenues and your operating expenses. Then you move into your non-operating revenue. And one of the most important lines here is your income loss before contributions and transfers. Okay, note that there's only a couple funds there with negative dollar amounts. The community center is one of them, but please note that it is before transfers, and we all know that the community center heavily relies on the transfers from DSU and from the city. The same is true here for your recycling center. So even though that shows a negative, your next section down there, that is offset by that transfer that we do almost every year from the solid waste fund. Then once again, you have your change in net position. Page 22, statement of cash flows. Almost down to the bottom there is your net increase, decrease in cash and cash equivalents. If you strictly want to know how one of your enterprise funds is doing on cash only basis, no depreciation expense, no adjusting entries, a lot of that GASB stuff that we are required to do year-end adjusting entries for, this is cash only. There is your net increase and decrease in your cash and cash equivalents for all of your enterprise funds. Page 25. Page 25 starts your notes to the financial statements. Page 25 to the end of your book is a lot of explanation of the accounting policies, just the policies that we need to follow at the finance office, whether they are cash accrual, modified cash accrual, and or GASB regulations. So great detail is explained in these next several pages about why we do what we do. Page 37, please. Changes in capital assets. Those are once again broken down into your governmental activities. So your change in capital assets and your bottom line capital assets in your governmental funds were $20.5 million. And then if you flip to page 38, your business type or your enterprise funds was a little bit over $25 million. Year-end balances in your capital assets. Page 39, this is what probably takes me the most time during the whole audit process, is our construction work in progress. We have a ton of projects going on, and they're not always wrapped up and started and finished in the same year. Therefore, you have to, yeah, great, but therefore you have to disperse those into the correct funds and track them for previous years. So at the end of 2017, you will see that we had $2.1 million in construction work in progress. So that construction work in progress has not hit your capital asset line items and has not begun to be depreciated out. Still on page 39, we're almost done, I promise. Long-term liabilities, section 9. That is a breakdown of your debt service. Beginning balances, what we added to debt service, which are only your OPEB and your leave changes. What we deleted in debt service would have been all of our payments. For a new ending balance, so our ending balance at the end of 2017 in our primary government debt service was $12.5 million. Page 40 and 41 breaks down that debt service into years owed. It also shows us our interest rate and what our balances are in that debt service. Last but not least, that last page, page 64, the very last page. If you, as a city government are awarded and receipt in more than $750,000 worth of federal grant, you are subject to an additional audit. Since that GASB regulation, this is the first time we've had to do that for this additional audit. So you will see that $805,000 was taken in for our 2016 airport project, along with $62,000 worth of hazard mitigation grant. So your grand total there is $870,000 worth of federal funds that we took in during year 2017. Subject to a whole new audit process. As always, I'm always available for questions. This has been posted out on the website. Actually, Chuck got a hold of it, I think, a few weeks ago and did a little story on it. But we are finally ready to wrap up 2017 and start the same process for year-end 2018. Started last night, actually. Do take some time, look through this. Again, if you have any questions, please come see me.
Any questions or comments at this point?
Pretty, I mean, every year, but it's pretty healthy. I mean, we're, you know, and I'll just say kudos to department heads because not a lot of them were over budget and some considerably under budget. So
We work hard at
really
that.
helped us with some cash flow things that we ended up buying some things and got, I think, maybe one or two other little projects we want to do yet this year or soon that are unbudgeted. So
We will be working on supplemental budget in the next couple of weeks. Most of what you see on the supplemental budget on a normal annual basis are things that we've all talked about and expenses that you know are coming, but 18 months ago simply weren't budgeted for. That's a lot of the work that goes into the supplemental budget.
Other questions or comments? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to acknowledge?
I'll make a motion, we acknowledge the audit report 2017.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there anything anyone wants removed from the consent calendar? If not, do we have a motion?
make a motion we approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no old business, under new business. Authorize the mayor to sign the engagement letters with Shane Fish and Company Incorporated for the 2018 annual report and audit services. Again, I'll ask Jen address this.
We do these engagement letters, you will remember, on an annual basis. We don't have any long-term contracts because of things like federal funding. They like to bid what they know they have in front of them. So now that we've wrapped up 2017, I would ask that we go ahead and retain Shane Fish and Company as the auditing services for both the annual report and the audit. You will see the quoted annual report price is $2,800. The quoted audit report is $13,500 for a total of $16,300. And actually with the federal audit does add to your expense. So the $16,300 is actually less than what we paid for our 2017 audit.
Questions at all?
See that last part again. What was that?
Total expense that we anticipate realizing for the 2018 audit will actually be less than we've already
Okay.
paid them for the 2017 audit,
Thank
based
you.
on the federal audit because of the change in airport projects this year, or the fact that we didn't have those federal funds coming through. We aren't going to be mandated to do this federal audit.
Thank you.
I work with auditors all year long. I probably talk to them once a week. So it's not like they come in and do their thing. We work with them all year long. Appreciate that very much.
Okay. Questions at all? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the engagement letter with Stonefish and Company Incorporated for 2018 annual reports and audit services.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Matt Woolman, law enforcement officer certification. Justin, would you want to address this?
Sure thing. This is nothing new. We've done this with the last couple 3 hires. This is basically an agreement that we have our new uncertified officers sign, which basically is a contract for them to work for the city for a 3-year period after we have sent them to the academy. And basically, if they quit or leave within that 3 years, they pay us back the cost difference above minimum wage for their 13 weeks that they spent out at the academy. So basically just covers our investment into these officers.
And also covers, the fact that, some other town doesn't let us pay for all the training and that, and then they hire them away from us.
Correct. Yep.
So, no, very good. We've done this before. Any other
Yep.
questions or comments?
No, I think it's a good, good way to keep track of them. I know it's hard to get people to apply for these positions, whether it be as first responders in all of the 3 disciplines, police, fire, EMS, across the nation. And so this is a great way to help these young officers, eventual officers, certified officers. And we've done it before, so.
Yes, sir. Would you come forward to the mic, please?
As long as he won't hit me.
Okay. I can't guarantee that.
I think we have to assure that won't happen.
Okay.
Go ahead, Marshall.
Where we at on number of officers then?
This brings us back up to full staff, so we would have 13 certified officers.
And that includes you and the 2 SROs?
Correct. Yep.
So 13?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Other questions or comments?
In the case that they did not complete item number 7, does not work as a certified law enforcement for at least 3 years, which you mentioned, they pay back 100% of all the wages paid to them during the officer's attendance in the law enforcement academy. They pay 100% of that back?
No.
Over and above the federal minimum wage.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have to pay them the federal minimum wage, but anything that we pay them over and above that number while they're out there, and it only covers that 13 weeks.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Chief.
Mm-hmm.
What's the cost to send a guy to the academy?
Well, what we pay is their wages for the time that they're out there. The Law Enforcement Training Center takes care of everything else while they're out there. We just sponsor them, if you will, while they're there, which we pay them 40 hours a week for 13 weeks while they're not on the street. But they get, I think it's 650, 700 hours of training while they're out there, and all we pay is wages and benefits for that time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It is a great program, and obviously they can kind of get, ingrained in how things work in South Dakota, obviously, and then they get to meet some other officers that they may very well be working with and throughout their career. So I know it's a good program that the state puts on. So I will.
Mike,
Go ahead.
One question.
Yep.
Do you have a fixed time that they work with you before going to the academy?
No, it basically is, so state law says that we have to have an officer certified within 1 year of hire date. So it may vary where we can get an officer in right away, such as Officer Woolman's going to be with us. He started with us on the 5th, and so we're going to be sending him at the end of this month because we can get him in. Now, we also have Officer Berry that's been with us for 6 or 7 months, who's been through training, is doing a great job so far for us, but we couldn't get him in before that. So they're both going to be attending the academy at the same time starting the 26th of this month. So we'll be short 2 officers for 13 weeks, but I'd rather bite that bullet, if you will, and do that over the winter where it's a little bit slower call-wise for us than in the busy, warmer months. So if I can get an officer in within 2-3 months of a hire, or in this case a month, I'll do it, because I don't know when the next one will roll around. That academy is very busy. It's consistently full with new officers, and sometimes you have to wait 9 months to get an officer in. So, because they do not run classes during the summer months. So it's only open 9 months a year, and I believe their top, they want to keep it at about 40, 45. And I know there's times that they've hit the 50 mark just trying to squeeze everybody in. Well, that's not real conducive to a good learning environment at 50 officers. So
You run 13 weeks, and did they time off for a week or two, or did they start up right again after 13 weeks?
they would typically will get that weekend off, and they're back on our schedule the Monday after. In fact, they will get about a week or so off during that week of Christmas, and we will put them back to work with their FTO while they're here. On that week off. So we can go over, hey, what have you learned so far? What have you covered? But it gives them time on the street with their training officer during that break.
The academy itself, though, does it also run back to back? I mean, they've done one group and then they're
Yes,
right
sir.
on?
They may take a week between, but
Okay.
typically what you find is they are back to back to back.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep,
And if you haven't been there, it's a very impressive facility.
absolutely it is.
Very impressive.
Not unlike our current police officer.
Other
appreciate
questions
that.
or comments?
Touche, Commissioner Johnson. I will authorize make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign agreement with Matthew Woolman, law enforcement officer certification.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank
Authorize
you.
the mayor.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Authorize the mayor to sign the pipeline license, Worthington Northern Santa Fe Railway Company, tracking number 18-61125. And I'm going to ask Chad if he'll address this one.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor, Commission. Included in the agenda packet is a letter from Jones, Lang, and LaSalle Brokerage, talking about the license agreement and then the specific license agreement. Both these next two items are very similar for the same project, that project being the Washington Avenue Reconstruction Project. We will have a new sanitary sewer line under the railroad track for that project and a new water line under the railroad track for that project, and this is a required process that BNSF has us go through and apply for. We've done several of these in the recent years, so many of you have seen these before. I would describe it, and I think David has referred to this in past recent ones as well. It's very much a non-negotiable type agreement. You have to apply and fill out the fees and proceed as they've directed. We've worked with our consultant to help with the application submittal, with the appropriate drawings and so on. They take that information and incorporate it into an exhibit or an attachment to the agreement, which is also in the agenda packet, which gives some of the details for the crossing. There is a cap in the fee due to the state statutes. I forget the specific statute at this point in time. Legislature approved that a couple years ago. And then also there is an option that the city can take what's referred to as railroad protective liability insurance coverage through BNSF for a fee, and that covers both us and our contractor. So we either have to get our own policy related to that coverage or piggyback onto theirs. We've talked about this at other projects in the past, and we've opted most recently in several recent ones to piggyback onto theirs. And so that would also be included, and that's actually the fee for our application, which is $750, and the fee to get the coverage under this coverage for the railroad protective liability coverage is $1,266. So between the two, that's $2,016, and so that was actually in the bills that you considered already. That $2,016 for each of these two license agreements that you have before you. So I just wanted to point that out as well. Otherwise, this is a necessary item. I would recommend that you approve these two agreements.
Questions or comments?
Pretty straightforward, we gotta do it.
It is,
I mean,
yep.
we're,
Yep.
DOT's coming, so that's gonna happen. I'd make a motion, we authorize the mayor to sign pipeline license BNSF Railway Company, tracking number 18-61125.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And again, number 4, authorize the mayor to sign the pipeline license BNSF Railway Company, tracking number 18-61148. And as Tad just addressed in that, this here is the same thing as the previous one. It's just for a second line going underneath, so.
This one is for the water main. The first
Yes.
one was for sanitary sewer.
so
I'll make a motion, we authorize the mayor to sign this pipeline license BNSF Railway Company, tracking number 18-61148.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Authorize the mayor to sign the airport grant pre-application checklist with the FAA, AIP 3-46-0029-017-2019, rehabilitate remark runway 15-33, and turnarounds. And again, I'm going to ask Chad to address this one.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Included in the agenda packet is the forms you referred to for this pre-application. This is a project, or excuse me, a process that you go through annually. The FAA requires these forms to be submitted for projects anticipated in the upcoming year. This particular project is for the resealing of the joints on the concrete runway, and that's what the rehabilitate portion of this is, and the remark is for the new pavement markings on there. KLJ has been assisting us in coordinating with most specifically the South Dakota DOT for this project. This project could be done within the state, and it still may be under a statewide contract, in which case all the similar such projects across the state would be developed in a project by the state and bid out that way. Or it may proceed with this project. The DOT has asked that this be put forth as a pre-application to give them options, give the DOT options. And so that's why you see this on the agenda. It's been accounted for in the budget, as I talked with Jen a little bit last week about this. And so this is a typical maintenance item that's required for the runway. We would pay the 5%, which is about $16,500, if I recall correctly, $16,700. So I would recommend approving this, and then you will, if this comes to fruition, you will have subsequent agreements that come forth for the application and so on, once it gets to that point.
Where?
Yes.
So the DOT kind of gathers up all the ones that they think are similar or don't require any special attention and put them in a herd?
That's correct. That's my understanding.
And the ones that have some significant difference or something that they want individually, then as in this case.
That's right. Although this one may still be able to be included in a statewide contract.
Okay.
I don't know the most specifics as to why Mr. Becker there with the DOT wanted this one, other than to give them options. So if they don't have enough other similar such projects around, we can proceed on our own. If they have enough other similar type projects of this sawing and sealing of the joints, then it may end up being just under the statewide project.
I'm trying to understand the DOT's thinking. Is that too broad a thing, you think? We've had so many projects with so many exceptions, and I don't, not necessarily that's wrong. Thank you.
Yep.
Brad, did you have anything you want to say? No? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion, the mayor signs the airport grant free application checklist for the remarking of the runway 15-33 and the turnarounds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 6, authorize suspension of work and issuance of notice to contractor on the West Center reconstruction project, Highland Avenue to Blanche Avenue. And Chad, I'm going to ask you to address this one.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. For this project, as you're well aware, commenced on May 1st, about May 1st this year, excuse me, and it proceeded through, and completion of paving was done on about October 26th this year. There was a few wrap-up items to be completed, the installation of the topsoil behind the back of the curb, but mostly it's been the tilling and the seeding that's remains to be done for the project. We obviously did plan for the project and hoped and anticipated that it would be done this year. Contractor was somewhat behind schedule and wasn't able to get that done, particularly with some of the rains later in the season caused some challenges, but then also the cold weather in the last 2 weeks really kind of shut it down. We were still optimistic that we could get it done and they could get it done, but it's not going to be the case. So among other things, to stop the contract time, there's provisions in the contract that say you suspend work and then you don't count days anymore, so to speak. And that's what I'm asking and recommending for you to do today is suspend the work. The contractor will accomplish a few miscellaneous things to prepare it for winter, remove some of the storm inlet erosion control items. There's a few other things they might try to do Thursday this week, prep work and surfacing touch-up work, and then they'll be gone. And it'll pick up the traffic control and be gone, and then should be able to be utilized. The project is substantially complete, I would submit. It can be used as intended, with just the exception that some of the erosion control and the seeding and erosion control has not been completed. So there's another item related to this following on the agenda, which is the change order. What I would propose to do and recommend is that the commission approve that change order. That would give the contractor 30 days to complete the work next spring, or they have to have it all done by June 1st as well. So if they start before May 1st, just generally speaking, they will only have 30 days. They won't have, say for example, April 15th to June 1st. It's 30 days. So the earlier of 30 days from the start point or June 1st. And that's what I had attempted to address in that change order that's coming up next. But these two kind of go hand in hand. I would recommend we suspend the work, stop the clock, so to speak, until the weather is better, and allow them to come in and get finished up with the project.
So if they started March 1st, they'd have to be done March 30th.
Correct. Yep.
It's not, I'm gonna start in March, but I have until June.
Correct.
No, you got 30
No,
days.
you got 30
Okay.
days.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
That will be grinding around the manholes and bringing them up to grade, and the water valves too.
We have included those on the punch list. We have a specification as to what tolerance, as you could imagine, any contract. You have tolerances, and as long as they're outside of the tolerances, we are going to include that on remedial work that they need to do before we'll issue the final payment.
I'd like to see them be brought up to grade, because that's the purpose of an infrastructure on a new street, is to have it nice and smooth, not to be bouncing off of manhole lids and water valves.
I
That's
agree.
what we're paying for, so.
I agree. We have, you have to set up some tolerances. You have to give tolerances, and you hold the contractor to those tolerances, just generally speaking. And if you ask for something over and above those tolerances, you may have to pay for it. But in other words, we mimic some of the other communities around, and it's 3/4 of an inch. If any quadrant of that manhole is lower than 3/4 of an inch from the adjacent asphalt, we ask them to remediate that. If it's a half inch all the way around, we can't really tell them to go do it. We could, but they say, well, I'm going to charge this much because I've installed that per specification. So I do understand your point, and I appreciate that, but we've set that 3/4 inch. Maybe we look at adjusting it to less
8
in future projects.
16.
So got to find that balance.
Yeah,
of
it's got to be
constructability.
reasonable,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And a great example of construction in progress, like we just talked about. Not going to be done at the end of the year. It has to be booked differently, distributed between the funds that we need to expense it to. It'll show up in your construction in progress within your audit report.
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I might recommend a motion, something like the following. Motions to suspend work on the West Center Street project effective November 10th, 2018, with exceptions and exclusions as allowed by the city engineer, and authorization for city engineer to notify contractor.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and
You
a
got
all
second.
that?
Yep, got it right here.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 7, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 3, Pruddy Construction Company, West Center Street Reconstruction Project, Highland Avenue to Blanche Avenue. And again, Chad, I'll ask you to address this if there's any other questions that go along with that.
No increase in monetary, just to the extension of the time.
And the 30 days starts once they start in the spring.
Correct. Or done by June 1st.
Okay.
Chad, I would just make a quick comment and just for you to, tell these guys thank you for getting what they got done, with the weather and everything. So with it being substantially complete is pretty nice. So express at least my thanks to them, if you would. So
Bob, did you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, you're gonna give them the start date, right?
In the spring?
They'll work
In the
with you
spring.
in the spring
Correct.
of when to
Yeah,
start.
we'll
Okay.
coordinate whenever they want to start, and trust me, they know they have 30 days from when they start, and we made that very, very clear.
Okay.
So inconvenience the landowners. It's frustrating that we had to do that even, but we want to put a boundary on it, where they're going to inconvenience.
All the driveways are done out that way?
They are.
Okay.
Yes, everything is done, all the sidewalks are done. Really, the only thing that's not done is punch list items, and then the erosion control.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion without a second.
I'll second that.
Who's my
No,
motion?
I
Oh,
had-
didn't you make a motion?
Nope.
No, you had a
Nope, I
comment.
hadn't. I just had a
You had a
comment,
comment.
but I will
Nope.
certainly make that motion to
Okay, very good.
authorize the mayor to sign change order number 3, Prunty Construction Company, West Center Street Reconstruction Project, Highland Avenue to Blanche Avenue. If you want.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 8, bid number 877, review and award bid, utility building renovation. And for this, I'm going to ask Brad to address this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You should have in your packet a couple things. One of them was the opinion of cost from Design Arc for the reconstruction of the new municipal utilities building. The second thing you should have in there is the bid tab. We did receive 4 bids. All of them checked out. We have the low bidder, Amert Construction, for $226,000. It is the recommendation of the architect and from the utilities that we award the contract to Amert Construction for the amount of $226,000. Are there any questions?
Questions at all? Okay,
Under budget, or not under budget, under estimate.
underestimate.
I'll make a motion that we award bid number 877 to Amert Construction in the amount of $226,000 for the award bid of utility building renovations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we have any public comment? Seeing no public comment, no announcements that I can think of at the moment, no executive session. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.